and welcome to episode number 70 of the Introvert Biz Growth Podcast, the show where I talk to introverts who grow their business and make a difference. Happy New Year, dear introverts. This is Sarah Senecroce, and I'm so happy to be back after the holidays. I took a little break, and I hope you don't have an extroverting hangover. My holidays were great, just enough action, but also lots of time to read. And boy, did I read. I started with Brené Brown's new book, Dare to Lead. In parallel, also my friend Kat Rose's new book for introverts called The Creative Introvert. And both were really good reads. Actually, I haven't finished both of them yet, but they're really good. So I'll get Kat on one of the muses soon for sure. Not so sure about Brené Brown. I think she's pretty busy. What's the plan for the Introvert Biz Growth Podcast in 2019? Well, I plan to have even better episodes, same format with other introverts, and in addition, the muses where I talk about a topic by myself. And I'll continue to keep the podcast ad-free. I will use it also as a platform to tell you about my own offers, the Gentle Business Revolution, which is still in preparation, my LinkedIn coaching, as well as business coaching for introverts. That being said, on to today's show. Today I talked to Cindy Bidar. Cindy Bidar is an online business manager specializing in marketing and systems automation for coaches, digital course sellers, and freelancers. She's had the privilege of working with some of today's most profitable online businesses as a marketing and operations manager. She's helped train seven-figure marketing teams and overseen the setup and management of hundreds of marketing and sales funnels. Through her training programs and one-on-one consulting, she helps her clients scale their business by creating automated systems that improve conversion rates, increase sales, and add more profit to the bottom line. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Cindy. Hello, Cindy. How are you today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm great too. As you saw on video right now, I'm kind of chilly. So I'm all bundled up in my... I didn't mention that I made that poncho myself. I knitted that last year.
Oh, wow. It's beautiful. I knit too, but I tend to do smaller things. I knit socks.
Smaller, but probably more challenging than just a straight poncho or whatever you call it.
I don't know. I've done some scarves and things that were pretty challenging. So
I guess it depends on the patterns and everything. So
yeah, definitely.
Anyway, great to talk to you. I introduced you in the official intro and read your bio. What I want to know is a bit more about yourself. So the unofficial, who's Cindy, and how does that relate to you being an introvert and running your business as an introvert?
Forgive me, I don't recall what you said on the official bio, but I have been in business for 8 years. I actually just celebrated my 8th anniversary. I've been doing this for a while, all online. Before I was an online entrepreneur, I had a very corporate-y job that I didn't hate. I truly didn't hate it. I liked my job. I liked what I did, but I was looking for a way to earn some more money because I don't want to say I wasn't paid well, but we can all use more money, right?
Right.
I was looking for a way to earn extra money, and I kind of stumbled across this you can work online thing and started investigating that. Within a year, I had kind of started making enough money online that I thought, wow, I could actually replace my income. Wouldn't that be cool to not have to answer to someone else? I kind of came to my husband one day and I said, I'm going to quit my job. And he said, what? Are you sure? We had really modest goals at that time. All I wanted to do was replace my day job income. Of course, I didn't think about taxes and all of that fun stuff when I was crunching the numbers. All I wanted to do was replace my take-home pay.
Right.
And luckily, we did way better than that. Otherwise, I don't think I would have survived. There's a bunch of other expenses that, nobody tells you about when you're starting a business. Right. We've gone from there, and I have honestly not looked back. I've been full-time self-employed since then.
So tell me how that all worked out for you being an introvert. It's great for introverts to work online and to work from home.
It's awesome.
As a business owner, you also have to do the marketing part, get those clients. So now you're really into these online products, right? That's what you do. You also have clients where you do their online marketing for them. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, I started out actually as a content and copywriter. And then from there, I moved into doing more technical virtual assistant work. So I was managing sales funnels and online marketing piece and all of the tools and technology that goes into that. And I was really lucky in that my clients were not shy about sharing me with other people. So the vast majority of my work came in through word of mouth, which saved me from having to actually go out and
That's an introvert's
find
dream,
clients.
let's just say it, right?
Right. They came to me. I didn't have to go out and introduce myself to them. So that was a real blessing for me because as an introvert, and I think we're probably going to talk more about this later, that's probably my biggest weakness is that I'm not good at putting myself out there. I'm not good at saying, hey, I can do this for you.
Right.
And it's honestly something that I have to force myself to overcome. Working online is great in that I don't have to be around people all the time, but you can also become kind of even more introverted because of that. At least me, I can let it get to the point where I am not around people for weeks at a time.
Right.
So I have to be careful of that. I have to be mindful of that. And I have to really push myself out of my comfort zone on occasion to put myself out there and to actually market my products and my services now.
And it's not just about marketing and promoting ourselves, but even just to have a conversation, with other people.
Yes. Well, because you just never know. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet. I believe that it's super important to get out, for example, and go to business conferences and things. And that's really hard as an introvert. You have to be willing, like I said, to step out of that comfort zone, but you also have to know yourself well enough to know that, hey, I'm going to go to this event, but I'm going to spend the week after it just kind of decompressing.
You're right. And sometimes maybe it's because we don't do it enough, but I feel like our expectations are also higher maybe than other people's or extroverts' expectations. Because when I go to such an event, I always have these expectations of deep conversations. And then all I end up doing is small talk. I'm like, well, that was a waste of time.
Yeah. But you don't know where that small talk is going to lead down the road.
Yeah, it's true. But I think, at least myself, I'm really fast to judge and say, oh, that was useless. All we did was talk about the weather. But you're right. Sometimes it's just an initial conversation that maybe goes further at a later stage. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's talk about how you generate revenue today, because you have different income streams, and my audience is always interested in how to not just trade time for money anymore, basically.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by different income streams, but I keep hearing that the most successful entrepreneurs, the millionaires, have 7 revenue streams.
Guess what? I had Dory Clark on the podcast a few episodes ago, and she topped that. She said she has 9 different income streams.
I actually heard a podcast with Nick Loper, Side Hustle Nation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about 15 different income streams.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
I thought he was splitting hairs a little bit, but
maybe.
Regardless, I think the point is that you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. Like I said, I started out doing done-for-you services, whether it was writing, and I still do a little bit of that for just a couple of clients. And I do a little bit of the marketing sales funnel technology for a couple of clients still. So I've done-for-you services. I also do marketing consulting, technology consulting. I also create digital products to sell. I have a monthly membership. And I do affiliate marketing. Probably 25% of my income comes from recommending other products and services to my community of people. Those are my primary income streams right now. I am actively looking for more. We're looking at some offline opportunities as well. But right now, my focus is probably on digital products. That's my biggest focus right now.
Right. Yeah. You just recently launched your own digital product line, I would probably say, because there's quite a few products in there, right?
Yeah, I have quite a few products available now. What I did, I spent so many years setting up the back ends and managing the marketing and the operations for very successful online entrepreneurs. And I took all of that information that I've accumulated over the years and I've packaged it up into checklists and templates and worksheets and things for other people who don't necessarily want to hire somebody like me, or who maybe can't afford to hire somebody like me, but who can still get that information and put it to work in their own business.
That makes so much sense, but you have to actually come up with the idea and use your intellectual property and set it up that way.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about, you already mentioned one of the challenges, which is marketing yourself. So what would you say as an introverted entrepreneur, what's your unique strength?
I think my biggest strength as an introvert is the fact that I am an introvert. I said earlier that I can go for days and days or even weeks and not leave my house. I have friends that go quite stir crazy. If that's the case, if they're not out of the house every couple of days, at least they're getting a little antsy. And to me, I'm perfectly content to sit here in my office and just work away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite happy with that. And I'm quite happy with my own company. Last week, I headed down to my dad's. That's a 6.5-hour drive all by myself. And I'm quite happy to do that because I'm quite comfortable with my own company and I like having the time to think and to get things done. And I think as an introvert, that's one of my greatest traits.
Was it always like that? Even as a child, were you happy with your own company?
Oh, yes. As a kid, you would most often find me in my room with a book.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's very challenging for me as a mom. And it's funny because I'm an introvert, but yet it's challenging to see my introverted son not wanting more friends or not going out more. And I always catch myself thinking, why doesn't he have more friends? Why is he not spending more time going out and having fun? And I'm like, wait a minute. He's just like you. He just doesn't mind sitting in his room by himself.
That's what makes him happy. So
exactly, yeah. It's interesting because as parents, sometimes we forget and we always want the best for our kids. And society tells us, well, your kid should do soccer. Your kid should have this many friends, and it just doesn't apply to everyone.
Yeah. Play dates and
exactly. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
Besides marketing, is there anything else that you want to mention in terms of what makes it challenging as an introvert?
I feel that what makes it challenging as an introvert is we're not running massive corporations here. At least the business model that I'm in is more of a grassroots effort, and it's about relationship building. Maybe that means introducing myself to potential new affiliates, or making myself available for a podcast interview, or getting on a Facebook Live with somebody. And those things are all, I don't want to say I have to force myself to do them, but I kind of have to psych myself up.
Mm-hmm. They don't come natural.
It's not something that I actively want to do. It's not something I consider to be super fun. I mean, as much as I love to talk to you, if I focused on the fact that we're recording this, I'd probably, not be as comfortable with it.
Yeah, you'd rather sit in a chair and read a book. Yeah.
Or write a book.
Or write a book. Yeah, even better.
Exactly. Yeah. So part of it is just knowing what my limits are. Right. Mm-hmm. For a while, I had a group coaching program that met every week at a certain time on a certain day. And I finally disbanded it because I hated being committed to that meeting every week. Mm-hmm. I think you just have to recognize your own strengths and your own boundaries. And while you want to take steps to kind of get out of your comfort zone for the good of your business, you have to recognize where something just isn't going to work for you. Just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Just knowing yourself, and I know myself well enough to know what I can do and what I'm really not going to be happy with. And I go from there.
That whole comfort zone discussion is an interesting one because the minute I hear get out of your comfort zone, I'm like, oh, I get chills. I'm like, no, I don't want to. Then I'm not at my best, right?
Yeah, I like my comfort zone.
Yeah. And I do my best work in my comfort zone. Anyways, that's a discussion for another time because I think we could fill a whole episode about that. Take us to a moment, an aha moment, some time where you had an incredible realization about something, a story that you want to tell us.
Oh, there are so many. I think every entrepreneur, every business owner has dozens or maybe hundreds. Probably the biggest one for me happened about a year ago. I had a really good business going. I was what most people would call really successful. I was traveling all over the world with a client who I loved. She's the kind of hair on fire extrovert, and I was one of her behind the scenes people, which was great. I was well paid. I was well traveled. I was having a good time. I sat down and I started to think about it, and I thought, you know what? I don't like that my calendar is full of meetings all the time. And I don't like that I am required to be at my desk at a certain time every day. I feel like I have a job again. Mm-hmm. I'm not loving this anymore. Mm-hmm. I started to think about that and I thought, you know what? I am busy building someone else's empire. And that was about a year ago. That was Christmas last year. And in early January, I quit that client and I pretty much fired all of my other done-for-you services clients at that time and struck off on my own.
Wow. Good for you. Congrats. It's a big step, but
it was a huge step. And I was lucky that I had some really good support. My husband was very supportive, very nervous about it, obviously, because I kind of decimated our income when I did that. But he was supportive. And I had the support of some really great coaches who steered me in the right direction. And I owe a lot of my success over the last year to all of those people.
That's great. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, actually not sometimes, but periodically we need to just look at our business again and say, do I still love this? Because if you don't, clearly you need to change something. And sometimes that means drastic changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing says that you have to be married to a particular business model or a particular revenue stream or particular social network.
Exactly.
If it's not working for you anymore, then find something else.
Yeah. It's funny because you're saying particular social network and I'm like specialized in LinkedIn on my main business or the one that's creating income right now. 2 years ago, I turned 40 and I had this kind of a Brené Brown midlife unraveling. And I started this podcast for introverts. And I always knew that there was going to be something I'm going to be doing with introverts. It didn't appear to me. And now I know. And so I'm going to develop something for introverted entrepreneurs. Doesn't mean that I have to ditch the LinkedIn business completely, but as introverts, oftentimes we're very curious as well. And we love always reinventing ourselves and love learning and all of that. And that's the beauty of being in business. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
Let's switch gears a bit and talk about what I call the 3 golden nuggets. So these are like resources. The first one is a personal habit, something that you do on a regular basis that you think contributes to your success.
I preach this to my membership members and my audience all the time, but the biggest contributor to my success is that I track everything. I spend about 10 minutes every morning and I look at what my revenue is. I look at what my expenses are. I look at the size of my mailing list. I look at the size of my social media following, and I am keeping track of what I'm doing to improve those numbers. I like to compare it to Weight Watchers. I don't know if you're familiar with the Weight Watchers program. I doubt you've ever been on Weight Watchers, but the way Weight Watchers works is that you have to record everything you eat. You can eat anything you want, but you have to record it. And that's why it works, right? Because you're keeping track. I firmly believe that that is the secret to business success, is to keep track of those numbers, to know exactly how much revenue you're making on a day-to-day basis and how much you're spending on a day-to-day basis and what you did to affect those numbers. Because so many people really don't know. If you ask most people, at least here in the United States, I don't know how it is in Europe, they're probably better at it than we are. Most people can't tell you how much they have in their checking account or what their bills are from month to month or how much they owe on their credit cards. And I think if you know those numbers and you are aware of them and you're thinking about them on a day-to-day basis, they can't help but improve.
Wow. You would have told me that 2 months ago. I would have said, yeah, I don't know either. But it's one of my goals for next year is to get better at my accounting and finances and all of that. I've had an accountant for 5 years and I just let him deal with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I completely lost control. And so I've taken back the control and I'm in
Good.
charge. So.
I have an accountant too, and my husband keeps my books. I don't deal with like QuickBooks and stuff like that. That's beyond me. I'm not even going to pretend that I understand how QuickBooks works. But I just keep a simple spreadsheet. This is what we earned yesterday. This is what came in, what went out.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be complicated, but I actually realized we're using Xero, so similar to QuickBooks. And I actually realized, well, it's all there. I just have to actually go in there and look at it.
Just make it a habit to go in and look at it.
What about an internet resource, something that you use online that you would like to share?
My absolute favorite resource the last few months is Trello. Trello's been around for years and I've seen it, but I've never used it. It didn't really make sense to me until I figured out how to use it in my business and how it can work in my business. And now I keep everything in Trello. It's my favorite tool. It's open all the time. And I've got Trello boards for email marketing. I've got Trello boards for my blog. I've got Trello boards for clients. I've got Trello boards for product creation. It's amazing. It's my favorite tool.
It's funny. I talked to a few people and I think it's kind of this love-hate relationship. Some people, they just love it and others just don't get it. And it looks like you used to be one that doesn't get it because I don't get it either. But it seems like something changed and now all of a sudden you get it and you love it.
It's like a switch got flipped in my head.
Okay, great. Well, I'll have to look at it again then. What about a book that you would recommend to fellow introverts and why?
I read a lot of business books. The one most recently that's had the biggest impact on me is Deep Work by Cal Newport. But he talks about spending dedicated time instead of flitting from one thing to another. I think we're all perpetually distracted. We've got 37 browser tabs open and 4 conversations going on in Facebook and Skype and, Slack is pinging at you and your phone's ringing and it's crazy making. And he talks about turning all of that stuff off and focusing and how better the quality of your work becomes when you can make that a habit. For me, it really spoke to me because, like I said, spending that alone time is perfectly comfortable for me. I'm happy to spend time alone in my office with the door closed and just silence, just me and the dog hanging out. So that really spoke to me about getting rid of all of these other distractions that aren't serving me, just really focusing on doing good work.
Yeah, it sounds like from what you're describing, you really fit that personality of being able to do deep work for hours and hours at a time. It seems like it comes easier to you where other people probably struggle more with being able to just say, I'm going to reserve 2 hours and just get the work done.
Oh, I definitely struggle with it. I spent so many years as a service provider that I struggle with turning off my email because always in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what if somebody needs to get a hold of me? No one needs to get a hold of me that quickly. I don't need to respond to my email in 5 minutes.
Right.
Nothing is that urgent.
No. And oftentimes when you respond 2 hours later, it's resolved itself. So
that happens too.
We're almost coming to an end here. I have 2 more questions. One is about marketing with integrity. What does that word mean to you, or that phrase, marketing with integrity? How do you apply it to your business?
This comes up a lot, especially in my membership group, because one of my core marketing tools is email. And I tend to email every day. I get a fair amount of pushback from people on that. Not people on my list, because people on my list know that I email them a lot. People outside of my business give me a fair amount of pushback on that because that's just too salesy and it's scammy and you shouldn't be bothering people all the time like that. My response to that is, if what you're seeing in your inbox is scammy and pushy and salesy, then you're following the wrong people. the people who do it right do it, like you said, with integrity. And they do that by adding massive value.
Mm-hmm.
That value comes in a variety of ways. I may be, whatever I'm promoting, whatever I'm selling to my audience, whatever I'm emailing about, yes, there's a financial reward in it for me 9 times out of 10. I also look at it as it's my job to give my audience the information that they need to make an informed decision.
Right.
So I'm the filter. I'm the one that takes in all of the information. I'm in a business-to-business niche. I teach online marketing. It's my job to filter all of the massive amounts of information that I receive on a daily basis, that we all receive on a daily basis. New products, new software, new techniques, new strategies. I take all of that in and I look at it and I filter it and I explain it in a way that makes sense to my audience. That helps them to make a decision. Is this something I need to look at, or is this something that I can ignore?
Right.
That's how I market with integrity. I look at it as I am helping people to make better decisions.
It comes back to serving, right? Rather than selling, because you look at it from a serving point of view where you're saying, well, I'm trying to serve my audience. I'm trying to help them. If they don't find it useful, then they don't have to pursue.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. There's different opinions and it's not for everybody, but those people, they can just unsubscribe, I guess, from your list.
Not open the email. Obviously, I'm on a lot of email lists, probably on more email lists than anyone else I know, because I'm paying attention to what's going on out there.
Right.
And I delete a lot of emails unread, don't even open them. And that's fine.
Interesting. Last question. What are you grateful for today or this week, Cindy?
So I told you last week I was driving down to my dad's. He lives 350 miles from me, I guess. And it's about a 6.5-hour drive. My husband rarely goes with me because that time in the car just kills him. And I like the time in the car by myself. So it's a good fit. All the way down there, I was thinking about this, thinking just how incredibly fortunate we are as entrepreneurs, myself specifically, but entrepreneurs in general, to be able to do what we really like to do and to hang out with people we genuinely like instead of being forced to hang around the water cooler with people we didn't choose. Mm-hmm. And to take off in the middle of the week and drive 6.5 hours to visit family and to not leave my house for 3 weeks at a time because it's cold and snowy and I don't want to go out. So many things that we take for granted. When I first quit my job, I had a lot of people that I worked with say, oh, you're so lucky, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. People really do see us as being very fortunate. And I think that I have to step back and say, you know what, I really am very, very fortunate that I get to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. And I think it's so important to almost remind ourselves on a daily basis that, yes, we are lucky, but anybody has that chance as well. It's
not just luck. We all worked quite hard for it.
Yes. I think it's both things, but you're completely right. Especially as introverts, when I hear my husband come home and complain about team members and all of that human drama, I'm very grateful that I can choose who I want to work with and who I want to hang out with.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like you on today's episode. So thank you so much, Cindy. This has been great.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you. I hope that we can get together and chat again sometime.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch. Thank you. That's it for this episode of the Introvert Biz Growth Podcast. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Check out Cindy's website at cindybidar.com, where she also has an amazing freebie with 51 opt-in incentive ideas that convert. I'll also link to that in the show notes. You'll find this episode's show notes with all the links at sarahsanacroce.com/episode 70. And if you are listening to this show on a mobile device, you can click on the description and you'll find all the clickable links in there. This is Sarah Sanacroce signing off from the Introvert Biz Growth Podcast. Remember, you need to use your unique introverted superpowers in order to make a difference. Take care.